Greetings, groovy people. The Blue Dragon here, welcoming you to this Wednesday's video, Come Together, Community. That is the topic. In the background, I'm working on toning a page of Act 4 of my free, not safe for work webcomic, Dark Horse. Before getting into the topic of the video, I want to apologize for not completing the Friday night video that I mentioned is coming. It is still coming. I filmed the sketching and the inking of it, but due to time constraints, I haven't had an opportunity to color it yet. But I'm still working on it. Amongst many things kind of occupying my time, obviously trying to build a buffer for my comic because that is very important to me. But I've also been working with a small group of other comic theorians in the comic theory community to create a comic theory zine to help promote the artists of our community, the comics of our community. But we are still working on this project, just kind of a little soft update. Drafts are coming in, we're editing, and we're gearing up for the next phase of creating this zine. So hopefully by mid-June, early July, we'll have that ready to go. It's been kind of a cool opportunity to work with so many artists, seeing what's coming in and the people working on it. It's really awesome so far, what I've seen. So, kind of jumping off from that topic of the comic theory community zine, let's Word of Wednesday segue into this week's topic of community. This is something of a hard topic for me to discuss right now, I feel, but bear in mind that a community doesn't necessarily have to be a physical community, although that's what I am talking about in this video. But as I mentioned just moments ago, community can be in the form of forums, or it could be on something like Tumblr. If you have people that you associate with, I feel that also creates a community. But it is something of an important topic to discuss because it's been on my mind a lot lately, and it really ties in well with where we're at in Act 4 of the revamp. So while I'm personally something of a loner, I don't know how to explain it. I've only ever really had one or two close friends at any given time, and even as I speak before this whole COVID event, I haven't had a lot of interaction with my friends, aside from texting and maybe emailing. And of course, obviously that probably has had an effect on me, but I feel like it's probably prepared me for this social distancing. But I'm actually not an introvert. I love to be the life of the party. I love to socialize. I talk to strangers on the street because I'm a weirdo. but I don't know. At the same time, it's always been kind of impressed upon me the importance that community holds for us, and it holds for me, too. Whether or not I feel I'm part of the community, it was always impressed upon me that showing up and doing for the community was important, but I'm sure much of that stems from my grandfather. My maternal grandfather was very active in the union. My grandmother also was very active through different volunteer work with their church. Of course, my grandparents were of the Depression era, so that was kind of mandatory for them to survive, and it's something that they obviously impressed upon their daughter, and my mother has in turn impressed it upon her children, and so on and so forth. So that's probably where quite a bit of that comes from. But she was very adamant that it was important to participate in some ways, whether or not you actually befriend or get involved on a personal level with the people of your community. Because like I said, we're kind of loners, and I'm kind of an outsider. But when I got to college, this theme of community was even greater. I've got to say, 12 years of living in my hometown versus 4 to 5 years of living on campus. Yeah, I feel like I was more of a community at my college, to be quite honest. I felt like such an outsider, and I was treated like one at my hometown. But in college, our program, which happened to be led by a bunch of old freaks, a bunch of old hippies, they really took to heart that, what the heck is it? Helper in promoting personal individual existence. That's what hippie means. But they really took that to heart, and they focused on helping us learn how to help each other in addition to our studies. This concept of community was a part of our program, so much to the extent that we had to live on campus for the first 2 years. Even if you lived locally, they gave you like a discount on your tuition. So to be quite honest, I never felt more at home with any group of people, any large group of people outside of my immediate friends, of course, as I did with my classmates at UIS. They were from all over Illinois, all different walks of life. It was the most diversity I had ever experienced, having come from a small town. And it was refreshing, and it was interesting because we all came from different backgrounds, but we were all taken out of our element, and so we pretty much we knew we were all on the same boat, so we had a common thread on which to build our community and our relationships with each other, if that makes any sense. Plus, our program required us to participate in community service and clubs. We had to do that in order to graduate. So it was really an interesting way to kind of force us out of our element and get us to get to know each other, as well as the city that we went to school in. We had to do things outside of the university too. And I have to say, there's a beauty and a strength in that type of camaraderie. God, I can't believe it, but I got teary-eyed watching that Tolkien film because it reminded me of my college days. But we studied together. My good friend, he set up chemistry classes. He was a whiz at like math, and a lot of us were, and myself included, were struggling and failing biochem. Like biology I had down pat, but the chemistry part was awful. And he started, like, because of, we were encouraged to help each other, he actually started teaching classes to all the other classmates. And this was, really looked well upon by our professors who found out about it. They were so proud of us working together to help each other, not just with classes, but with, just surviving away from our families. And that community was, I feel, a very important part of my life, our lives, and it's something that I've been trying to draw upon as I rework this Act 4 of Dark Horse. We were very young in college, and for us, we were facing so much adversity, in the form of studies, work, debt that we were racking up, family, balancing personal time. Some people were doing sports. I wasn't in sports, but some of my friends were participating in sports and trying to balance all of this. But we were also willing to stand up to that challenge, and if one of us was falling behind, we were encouraged to help each other out. So to me, that's how I would idealize what a community is and should be. It's individuals facing life or events that feel insurmountable, particularly if you're alone, but being able to look over your shoulder and realizing that you're not facing it alone, and you don't have to, and if you just reach out your hand, either for help or to pull another up, then you end up standing together and become a force to be reckoned with. And you don't have to know the person to care about them. Hell, you don't even have to like the person to realize that we're all better off when we're cared for and we feel secure and we know that we can call and rely on one another. I mean, because that's kind of what society is, or at least supposed to be. It feels to me like that's the purpose of society, is being able to come together, not for individual personal gain alone, but to come together because there's a power in numbers, and it's together that we stand. So I don't know, that's how I feel. Community in society is at its best when we're helping each other out just because we recognize that's important to do. And while there's certainly a lot of darkness and horrible events that will be taking place in Dark Horse, if one thing is evident in this story, if there's one thing that I want to get across, is that I do want it to be seen that these characters are at their best when they are united, and that alone the world can overtake them, but together they may stand a chance of survival. And I think that sums up my thoughts for this week. It's obviously not complete. I've only got 10 minutes or so to do this in, but it's kind of been on my mind lately, and I'm hoping that some of this gets across. Question of the week: what kind act has someone bestowed upon you? Because I know a lot of people don't like to talk about their good deeds that they do. But maybe you're willing to share a moment that someone helped you. Let's share some of our positive experiences. I have several people who have helped me out several times. My partners, course number one. Actually, I've been very fortunate. My former bosses that I've had at pretty much all of my jobs have been just amazing. But one in particular became like a second mother to me, and I can honestly say that I love her like family. We actually just texted the other day. She was checking in on me because she's like a second mom. Yeah. You know who else has been there for me? My magnificent patrons. If you'd like to contribute, feel free to check out the support links down in the description. Otherwise, I am happy with a like, sub, doing the bell thing. That's cool. Anyway, peace and love, fare you well, and keep on trucking.